Hello everyone. Today we are going to make 4 or 5 dishes that are related to southern part of India. We are making chapatis, we are making lime rice, we are making a very special dish called meat coconut fry, and we are going to make one payasam which is with moong dal and sego. Uh, as an additional dish, I will also be making dahi bindi which belongs to Hyderabad, and that will be an additional dish. It won't be combined with the menu. So with the menu, for our time management and all, I will be making 4 dishes. Alright. As usual, getting my tools in place, my dusters, checking my ingredients whether everything is around. Some of these ingredients would have been at the center table, which I have brought it here just for the sake of convenience so that I don't have to run around. But the proportions I will show you when I am taking the masalas. So I am just going to arrange the things on the lower deck. And first things first, I have to soak the sego for the moong dal and sego payasam. So I need that on top of the table first. I will also need the mutton here for marination. So these 2 things I'm going to work on first. Rest I'm going to keep on the lower deck. I'm going to clean the sago, and I am going to soak it in water, little extra water than the layer of sago. So let me check if there is anything other than sago in this. The non-sago things, possible small pieces of hay or sometimes even stone, I need to get rid of it. And now I'm going to just remove the excess starch which is in the form of powder. I will wash it out, and then I'm going to soak it in water and keep it on the lower deck. So okay, so I have soaked the sago. Can't turn it and see the water is going to fall off. After the sago is soaked, puffed up, it is going to absorb all the water here. So when I'm going to use it, you will get to see it also. I'm keeping it now on the lower deck. And now I'm going to start with the mutton. Okay, the original recipe is with beef. All right. But unfortunately in this time I could not get beef, so I am going to use mutton. You all know that beef undercut has a elongated structure, and that is why we can cut it into long strips. Okay, I will try my level best to get the similar sizes with the boneless mutton that I have managed to get, but if not, I may have to use smallish pieces which are resembling cubes or something. But otherwise, this belongs to Kerala, and there are many Catholics staying there, and they eat beef. They prefer beef in this recipe. Okay, we are just using mutton as a substitute, right? So I will arrange for my red chopping board first. I have a damp plaster here. I have an elongated piece like that, and I am going to cut it into long strips like this. I'm going to make the marinade first. I have some salt here, some turmeric, and red chili powder. I'm going to mix it up first and then put the meat in it. And I'm going to keep it at the lower deck, get my chopping board clean and wipe up the table. I need coconut next. As the name suggests, it's meat coconut fry. In my menu today, I need coconut in the payasam as well. Not just for coconut milk but also for garnish. So I'm going to break it. I am going to process the flesh and I will get back. So I have the coconut broken and I am going to take out the shavings. You can also break the shell and you can take out the pieces. I need to cut the coconut pieces like this, very thin ones for the meat coconut fry. So I'm going to cut them very thin. I'm using a small knife on purpose so that I can get it cut at the correct sizes. And these small pieces I am going to keep aside for the garnish of the sweet. So I am going to further cut them into smaller pieces. Do not bother taking out this black cover. It is going to give a slight crunch after frying, so we will be using this. I am going to keep it aside. I need it later for the Moong and Sego payasam. And the remaining coconut I am going to cut into long strips. The remaining half coconut I have given to Kaka for making into coconut milk. So you have seen the coconut milk, how it is to be done in the demonstration earlier. So I have coconut milk here. I am going to keep it in the fridge because it's going to take time for me that I need it. So I'm going to keep it in the fridge. So I have the coconuts ready. I need to marinate it. So I'm going to take some turmeric and some salt, make a mixture, apply it on the coconut, slightly rubbing onto it and going to leave it aside for at least half an hour. Next, I am going to roast the moong dal for moong dal and sego payasam. I have cleaned moong dal here. I am going to take it in a pan. Now switching on the flame. On a slow flame. I am going to dry roast this till a light brown color. All this while I was pre-preparing, so both my gas burners were not occupied. I need to start cooking things. So many times you will see that there is some boric powder or something applied onto the dal for preservation. If you feel that there is some powder which is not correct when you are frying or roasting it, usually we will wash the dals first and then process them. But in this case, if you find that there is some powder or something, then in that case you will just wipe it with a duster and then start roasting it. We are roasting the dal for two purposes. First is for the flavor, the nutty flavor that gets developed because of roasting, and second for color. So slight brown color is not just with the jaggery but with the roasted dal as well. There is a good aroma of the dal getting roasted, so I am going to turn off the flame, wait for a couple of minutes till it cools down, or I can transfer it on a plate and let it get cooled. As the dal is cooling, I am going to clean the rice and keep water for boiling for the rice. The rice that I am making with this menu is lime rice, which is served at room temperature. So it does not need any reheating. That's why I don't mind making it ahead of time. So I am going to keep water for boiling here. Put a lid on it so that it boils. The dal is cooled down a bit, so I am going to take it in a pan and I am going to wash it and keep it for boiling with little water in it. So the moong dal is washed, there is water in it. Now I am going to put it on a slow flame here. Initially, till the time the raft is formed, I will discard the scum that is in the form of froth. Those are the impurities or the protein. When the dal cooks, the protein comes out in a form, the impurities in the protein. I will discard that. Till then, I'll keep an eye on it, so I'm going to keep a round spoon with it. Let's check if the water for rice is ready. Not yet ready, but I'm going to add some salt. And very little turmeric to get a lemon yellow color. We don't want a jaundice yellow there, we just want a light lime color. And I also have the rice ready. Keeping it aside, putting the lid back so that the heats properly. The dal is now cooked. Its scum has to be removed. When you cook this in pressure cooker, you will not get a chance to remove it out. But now that we are cooking it directly, we can remove it. Let's check the rice. The water is boiling vigorously. Now time to add the rice which was dried out. Stir it up for a couple of minutes so that the grains don't stick at the base. See the color of water, it is light yellow. Remember, turmeric intensifies the color as it cooks. So don't go by the color that shows initially. You should wait for it to cook. Only the cooking will tell what color the turmeric will finally impart to the food. So we are going to leave this uncovered now for some time till the rice cooks fully. Till then I am going to get ready with the ingredients for chapati dough. Starting with the chapati dough, I have around 2 baba molds of atta. This is around 200 grams. Adding salt, oil, around 5% oil is good enough, and I'm going to make the dough with water. going to round it off and keep it in the corner of a table under a damp duster so that it is rested for some time. Let's check if the rice is done. It has taken me around 5 minutes for the dough to get done. I hope that the rice is cooked. Let us check. It's not mashing fully, so it needs more time. Let us check the dal now. There is more scum which I need to take out. Now you can check that the proportion of water that is there in the dal is reducing, but we want a thick mixture, so I am not going to add more water here. The dal is also not cooked completely. Because we have roasted it, there is dextrinization that has happened, and that is going to resist cooking, so it will take a little longer than usual for the dal to cook. Next, I am getting ready for the spices for meat coconut fry. So I'll get my plate ready with the spices. First, I need to clean the red chilies. So, breaking the stem, just crushing the seeds there and holding it. We have done this earlier, so you can recall what we did last time also. Some peppercorns, cloves, cinnamon and coriander seeds. So this is the masala for meat coconut fry. The moment the flame is free, I am going to roast it. I am just kept it ready. Now that the rice is still not done, I am going to continue with pre-preps for the mutton. Halfway through my pre-preps, I need to check the rice. I don't want to make it into a complete mashed up khichdi type thing, so I will stop my pre-preps right now. Go check the rice first. Okay, let's check if it's done. So I can mash it up very well inside, in between my fingers. Now it's done. I'm going to drain out the water and keep it on a colander so that the water drains out. The dal is almost done. You can see it is getting completely mashed up now. I am going to add the soaked sago. Water is almost absorbed. I am not going to throw that water, there is starch in it, so I am going to use that also. The rice is drained. I am going to keep it down on the lower deck. And now make the spice mixture for the meat ready. So I have a pan here. I'm going to take the masalas. Switch on the flame and roast it on a slow fire. I haven't added the red chilies initially because red chilies have a very fine texture. They are very soft and they will burn by the time I roast the rest of the spices, which have a little hard texture. So let us roast these half and then introduce the chilies so that all the masalas get ready together. In case you are working in large proportions, like in quantity 800 portions, you may have to roast individual spices separately. That is because the quantity of the masalas are more, the spices are very the quantity is very high, so roasting one kind together helps. Adding the red chilies now. The masala is roasted well. Now I am going to transfer it on a plate for cooling down and give it to Kaka for getting it powdered. This has to go at the end in the meat coconut fry. So once I put the mutton for cooking, only then it can be ground. The trick in grinding the spices is it has to be completely cooled down before grinding so that the oils are intact in the spices and they don't get evaporated or they don't get lost in the form of in the machine when you're grinding it will be on the sides. Again, this is a dry mixture, so better to do it in a smaller dry mixie rather than making it in a big jar. So I'll keep it for some time now. The chilies have become crispy and the spices have become nice and light brown color. The sago is almost cooked. It's disappeared. You can't identify the white part because of gelatinization. It has cooked and it is almost colored yellow. Small part is still uncooked from inside, which will cook later on. So now I'm going to add jaggery to this. You have two options. Either you can cut the jaggery and put small pieces of jaggery in this, or you can make a syrup and add it. when you're cutting and adding the pieces, you must make sure that there is no dirt in the jaggery, because the way the jaggery is manufactured, it is possible that there are pieces of hay or there are pieces of wood in the jaggery. If you are absolutely sure that there is no such impurities, then you can very well add the pieces. Otherwise, you can melt the jaggery on a slow flame and strain and add it, so that you are completely sure that there are no impurities in it. So I am adding the jaggery. I have checked, there is no impurities. Now this particular jaggery is very much yellow, and it may not give the correct color, brown color. If the jaggery is palm jaggery, or if it is little darker shade of jaggery, untreated, unchemicaled one, then it may give a better color. I am adding little sunt powder just to let you know that this was made fresh. Rather, it is in-house. We made it in college during pandemic. We had received little extra ginger, so we dried it out. We used little sunshine that time. Sometimes we put it in the oven, and in the rational oven we have dried it out and we have powdered it. So this is in-house, and it is absolutely completely out of impurities. I'm going to add a little cardamom powder as well. I have reduced the flame to minimum now, because with the jaggery and the starches that have gone in, it is very likely that it will get burnt. So I'm going to put it on a very slow flame. Keep a very close eye on it. My secret ingredient now, a pinch of salt. And I will leave it alone for 5-10 minutes till I am getting ready for the mutton spices. The payasam is almost done. I have tasted for jaggery and adjusted the jaggery. It was a little less, so I have added it. I am going to add coconut milk in this. And after adding the coconut milk, it cannot be heated for a very long time, because the coconut milk might split, the oil content and the moisture content get separated out and the appearance will not be nice. Now very traditionally what they do is they have 2 or 3 extracts of coconut. They will start boiling the dal with the third extract. Halfway through, as the third extract gets used up, they will add the second extract, and at the end they will add very small amount of thick extract. You can check that it has slightly thinned down. It will be thicker because the dal is going to absorb all the water which is there. So I am going to keep it aside. Now I just need to put the garnish, which I will fry at the end, and I will add it. So I am going to turn off the flame and keep it on the lower deck of the table. I am going to start frying the coconuts first. So I need oil. Taking a little extra oil because I need that deep fried effect. Switching on the flame. The oil is nice and hot. Now I am adding the coconut. Taking it out. Little bit of carryover cooking also is considered. So I have not waited for them to get fully brown. The heat is going to brown it. They are very, very thin, so it will get slightly more brown. Next I need to sear the meat. Reheating the oil. I don't mind the same oil, same container because it is for the same dish. That is the marinated meat. The meat is seared. I'm going to take it out in the same plate on which I have removed the coconut. I will avoid using the plate in which I marinated it without washing, because I don't want to mix up the uncooked and cooked meats. I'm going to turn off the flame right now. And take out the meat in the plate. I will retain the moisture. Now in the same pan, I am going to add little more oil and heat it. As it's getting hot, I'm going to add sliced onions. If you have noticed, we have tried to stick to elongated sizes for all the ingredients. The coconut is long strips, the meat is long strips, onions are slices, the ginger, the garlic, everything is into long strips. Also, we are trying to aim at the deep brown color. So the coconuts are fried to a light brown color. The meat is seared for the brown color. The onions here are also going to be slightly brown, not just stop at saute. Adding some salt for faster browning. If you are working with bulk, you can apply some salt on the raw onions and keep it ready. Just before frying, you can squeeze the water out. In that case, you are ensuring a very quick browning of onions. The masala which we roasted is now ready. This has taken me some 5 minutes on a medium flame. It's almost brown. So I'm going to add the ginger and garlic. Also going to add the curry leaves. You may slice the curry leaves as well. keeping it slightly away from flame so that I can add the mutton. The mutton was only seared, it wasn't cooked. So now I'm letting it cook on a medium flame. Plus I have the water from the mixie in which I made the masala. I don't want to miss out on those flavors, so I'm adding little of that water as well. I am waiting for the mutton to cook now. Till then I am going to get ready for the spice mixture of the rice. I am now making the mixture of dals for the rice. So I have chana dal. Since it is slightly bigger in size than the urad dal, I am going to start roasting the chana dal first. It's been 2 minutes that I have kept this inside the pan and stirred it. Now I'm going to add equal parts of urad dal. This powder is going to make the magic in the rice. In the mushy rice, it's going to bring about a change in the texture. It's going to be the crunchy powder. And now I'm going to add very small amount, 1/5 to be specific, of the methi. Turning off the flame, I'm going to leave the masalas in this pan, hot pan, for the carryover to do the needful, and I will powder it for my rice once it cools down completely to room temperature. The moisture is almost evaporated. The mutton, since it is mechanically broken down into smaller pieces, the muscles have become little weak, so they will cook faster. Plus they have been seared after marination. So from all the angles, the meat was made to get cooked very quickly. So now I'm going to add the fried coconut. And the masala. It's a dryish preparation, it's not a moist preparation. It's very spicy. It is usually eaten with dosa or a paratha. I'm going to just add a little water so that it doesn't burn, because now the spices which is powdered have absorbed all the water there. I'll leave it for around 5 minutes for the spices to mix. Alright, I am now completing or finishing the dishes. So I am first making a tempering, or I am making a garnish for the sweet dish. So I have melted pure ghee and I am going to fry the coconut. As the coconut gets slightly hot, I am going to add cashew nuts. You can fry them separately if you have larger quantities. I'm going to turn off the flame. The fat is hot enough. Now I'm going to add some sultanas. And add it in the ghee along with the pure ghee. So the kheer is ready. Next I'm frying peanuts. For the rice, a light color. Cashew nuts. In the same hot oil, I am going to make the tempering now. Mustard seeds. I'm turning off the flame. I don't want the spices to burn. Curry leaves, red chilies, and hing. And I'm going to pour this on the rice. The dal and the methi seeds powder. You can make out that it is not very fine, slightly coarse powder, and lime juice. Mixing it lightly. Avoiding to use any spoons, just breaking up the lumps in the rice. Till now we are done with the dough of chapatis. We are halfway through the mutton. It's taking a little time to cook. It is on a slow flame kept for cooking. I have been replenishing water in it because it's not done. We are done with the rice. It's ready. It is going to go at room temperature, so no need to reheat or anything like that. We are done with the kheer, the payasam, right? So now I'm getting all the kachra bowl cleaned. I'm going to clean the table, get away from the chopping board and get ready for my chapatis. So I need to clean the table, get the dusting flour, get the tawa ready, rolling pin and all set, right? Kneading the dough once again. Nice and soft. Okay. The moisture content from the dough is going to convert in steam, and that is going to puff up the roti. So it's nice to have a soft dough for the chapatis. I had started with around 200 grams of atta. I should get around 7 rotis from here. It's better to check the portions and adjust them beforehand. As you can see, now they are almost the same. So I'm going to put the ones which I'm not using back under a duster and take one at a time. Chapatis are an unleavened bread, so there is no layering of fat in between. They are also slightly smaller than the parathas, so slightly bigger than the fulkas but slightly smaller than the paratha sizes. I'm going to keep them on a plate. Now I'm going to start with the baking. So there is a hot tawa here on which I have put the rolled chapati. You can shake the tawa and check. It should be loose, it shouldn't stick at one place. If it sticks, it means that the tawa is overheated. So you take out the chapati, wipe the tawa with a dry duster and then put it on again. We have done all this intricate points covered in the earlier videos already, but since it's a part of this menu, I am going to repeat it just once more. Once you get a slight puffs on the chapati and it's looking dry, now you are going to turn it. We do not want deep brown spots here at this on this surface. The next side is going to cook fully, and I'm going to use a spatula to slightly press the edges. You can also use a dry duster, fold it in a pattern where it resembles a gaddi. You might have seen this for the tandoor cooking. So you can use a gaddi, slightly press the edges and turn it, and now help it to puff up by pressing lightly onto the sides. If you see from some area the steam is escaping, you block that so that it puffs up. It should get a light brown color in the process and it will cook completely. Right? Take it out on a dry clean duster. And dot it with pure ghee. Fold it and cover it up so that it doesn't cool down. Remember, we can't reheat this, so we have to make it towards the end of the menu. The presentation, lime rice, it is a self garnished dish. It has colors, it has all the nuts and everything on top, so we don't have to put a separate garnish for that. Meat coconut fry, I've reheated it. Coriander to go on top. Hot chapatis. and the payasam.